There is a place inside you that the world cannot touch unless you allow it in. And at some point in our lives, most of us have handed over that key. We let their noise become our frustration. We let their ignorance become our weight. We carry words that were never meant to grow roots in our hearts. And by doing so, we give our peace away piece by piece. But what if you could keep your peace through every storm? What if you could walk through every room, every insult, every misunderstanding, and still remain grounded like a mountain that cannot be moved? This isn't only a lesson in silence. It's a guide to power, not the kind that shouts, but the kind that understands. Listen closely, and by the end, you will no longer react, you will rise. People walk into your life carrying burdens they haven't yet named. Shame, resentment, fear, the hunger for validation, wounds that have been left open for decades. But instead of healing them, instead of facing them, they project. They throw what feels too heavy for them onto whoever will carry it. And often that person is you. Not because you deserve it, but because you are there, because you are open, because you are strong. People throw onto you only what they can't hold themselves. When someone speaks to you with unnecessary harshness, when their words cut like blades instead of building bridges, pause before you absorb it. Ask yourself, is this really about me, or is it a reflection of something they haven't faced within themselves? It's easier to point a finger than to look in a mirror. It's easier to unload pain than to process it. So they project through the bitterness in their tone, the coldness in their silence, the sarcasm in their praise. It's the language of someone drowning in their own weight. You become the vessel they try to pour themselves into. But you must learn not to absorb what was never yours. Their anger is rarely about you. Their judgment often comes from their own insecurity. Their rejection is usually a mirror of their own self-worth. Yet, if you're not careful, you will take it personally. You'll start believing their wounds define your reflection. You'll twist yourself trying to earn peace from someone who hasn't given it to themselves. You'll shrink your light, lower your voice, and soften your boundaries just to avoid the stones they throw. But those stones were never meant for you. They are carrying too much, and the heavier it becomes, the harder they throw. Not because they hate you. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes they see in you the peace they've never known, the confidence they buried, the self-love they were told they didn't deserve, and that sight disturbs them because you make it look effortless. You move with grace. You walk without apology. So they test you. They say things hoping to crack your calm. They push and prod, waiting for you to lose the composure they can't find within themselves. Why? Because if they can pull you into their storm, then their chaos feels justified. If even you, with all your strength, can be shaken, then maybe they aren't so broken after all. Don't fall for it. Their load is not yours to carry. You didn't cause it, you can't cure it, and taking it on will not save them. It will only weigh you down. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop mistaking care for sacrifice. It means you learn to say, I see your pain, but I will not become it. It means you allow others to sit in the discomfort of their own reflection without trying to ease it by dimming your truth. You will meet people who lash out instead of looking inward, who shame instead of share, who tear down instead of talk. It's not your job to catch every blow. It's not your duty to defend your worth every time someone else forgets theirs. You are not a container for unhealed emotions. Let them throw. Let them spill. Let them speak from wounds that have nothing to do with the moment at hand. But you stay centered. Don't rise to meet the storm. Stay rooted in your stillness. Because the instant you react, the moment you take their pain personally, you've handed them your power. You've told their wound it can control your calm, and you've allowed their story to stain your spirit. Choose better. Not for them, but for you. Not everything thrown your way is meant to be caught. Sometimes the highest form of grace is to let it fall, to say nothing, to move forward, to refuse to carry what does not belong to your hands. That isn't cold. It isn't cruel. It's clarity. And clarity will always protect you better than reaction. People will throw, but your peace is not their playground. Your soul is not their storage space. Protect it, guard it, treat it as sacred. And remember, what they throw says more about what's breaking inside them than it ever will about you. They will come knocking with raised voices and sharpened words dressed in urgency and pride. They'll send you invitations to chaos disguised as conversations. And some will even call it love, claim it's connection, insist it's necessary. But listen carefully. You are not required to attend every argument you're invited to. You are not required to walk into every room that reeks of control or step onto every battlefield someone drags into your peace. Just because someone wants a fight doesn't mean you need to pick up your gloves. There is power in choosing silence, not the silence that hides, but the silence that understands. There is power in saying nothing when they want you loud, in walking away when they want you broken, in staying calm when they want you to crack. Most arguments are not about truth. They are about control, about distraction, about someone's need to feel like they've won, even if all they win is your frustration. Many people don't seek understanding. They seek validation for their hurt, their opinions, their unprocessed emotions. They don't want peace. They want proof. They want a reaction, not resolution. That's the trap. They want to pull you into their storm so they don't have to face it alone. But your peace is not a prize to be given to those who refuse to find their own. There's no glory in draining yourself just to make someone else feel right. There's no reward for who gets the final word. You don't earn a medal for staying in rooms that steal your joy. You have every right to walk away when the tone shifts from truth to manipulation. You have every right to say, "This conversation no longer serves either of us." You have every right to protect your energy like the treasure it is, because it truly is. Each time you stay in a meaningless argument just to prove a point, you trade peace for pride. Each time you raise your voice to match theirs, you descend to the level you were trying to rise above, and slowly you begin to lose something sacred. Your stillness, your clarity, your sense of self beyond reaction. They may call you cold for stepping away. They may accuse you of avoidance, say you don't care. Let them talk. Those addicted to conflict will always resent your calm. Those who connect only through chaos will always feel abandoned when you choose silence over struggle. But choosing not to engage is not avoidance, it's mastery. It's refusing to be reduced. It's understanding that not every fire is meant to be fought. Some are meant to burn out on their own, while you walk away untouched. There will be people who try to provoke you every time they feel out of control. Their questions aren't true questions. They're traps. Their tone isn't curious, it's combative. You owe them nothing. Not your time, not your explanation, not your peace. Especially not your peace. Because not everything deserves a reply, and not every voice that reaches you deserves your ear. It takes strength to stand up and speak. Yes, but it takes an even greater strength to stay still and centered while others spin around you. That kind of strength doesn't break, doesn't bend, and doesn't get dragged into the mud whenever someone else forgets how to stand. If you argue with a fool, someone watching might not know the difference. If you argue with someone unwilling to listen, you've already lost. You cannot teach understanding by shouting louder, and no one has ever been healed through humiliation. So stop entering wars just because you're invited. Let them wrestle with their own shadows. Let them throw their words into empty air. You are not their echo. You are not their opponent. You are not here to justify their anger. You are here to guard your light. And often, The greatest proof of power is not in what you say. It's in what you no longer need to say. It's in choosing silence, not because you're weak, but because you've grown. Some battles are won by walking away, not fighting back. Some arguments are lost the moment you join them. Some peace is protected simply by remembering you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Some invitations are best left unopened. It happens quickly. A word, a look, a tone, and suddenly your chest tightens. Your pulse quickens. Your thoughts start to race. You feel it building. The heat in your throat, the storm in your belly, the sharp edge of emotion demanding to be unleashed. That's the moment right there. That breath between peace and reaction. That second before your spirit snaps like a dry branch under pressure. That's when you must choose to breathe. Not because breathing fixes everything, not because a single breath erases the pain, but because it gives you back your control before you give it away. We are not taught to pause. We are taught to fire back, to defend, to retaliate, to protect our name, our pride, our space. But what if real protection doesn't always mean reaction? What if true power lies in holding yourself steady in the face of provocation? What if the greatest strength is the ability to breathe before you break? That breath, that sacred pause, is your anchor in a world constantly trying to pull you out of yourself. It's the space where wisdom whispers, even when emotion screams. It's the line between regretting what you said and being proud of what you chose not to say. We live in a world addicted to speed. Arguments ignite faster than understanding can form. Decisions are demanded before reflection can settle. And in that rush, we say things we can't take back. We make choices we wish we could undo. We burn bridges in moments of heat. But most fires don't start from hate. They start from hurt. And hurt can cool if we just remember to breathe. When someone insults you, you want to strike back. When someone dismisses you, you want to be loud. When someone pushes your buttons, you want to push back harder. That's the reflex. But the breath teaches you that you are not just a reflex, you are a response. And there's a difference. A reflex is instant and emotional. A response is mindful and grounded. The breath transforms one into the other. The breath reminds your soul that it doesn't have to defend everything. Breathe before you reply to that message. Breathe before you raise your voice. Breathe before you throw back the pain they gave you. Because sometimes what you're about to say isn't your truth. It's your wound speaking. Sometimes the sharpness in your tone is the echo of an old pain being touched. Sometimes the rage you feel isn't even from that moment. It's the weight of years you never processed. But the breath knows. The breath reminds you that you are not in danger. You are in discomfort. And those are not the same. You were taught to react because that's what the world shows. But you can unlearn it. You can teach yourself to pause. You can train your body that not every emotional spike is a call to battle. You can teach your mind that not every disrespect needs a response. You can teach your soul to stay rooted even when everything around you shakes. This is not weakness, it's wisdom. To know when to speak and when to hold. To know when to protect and when to release. To know when the cost of reaction is too high for the peace you've been fighting to protect. Breathe before you break. Because you are not here to be shattered by life's chaos. You are here to move through it with grace. And it won't always be easy. Sometimes you'll forget. You'll yell. You'll react from fire instead of calm. You'll wish you had breathed instead of broken. But every breath is a new beginning. Every pause is practice. Every moment is a chance to choose again. So when you feel it rise, the anger, the sadness, the hurt, don't run. Meet it, face it. Let it surface, but don't let it spill. Breathe into it. Hold yourself the way no one else ever taught you to be held, strong, gentle, aware. Because when you can breathe through the moment that once broke you, you become unshakable. Not because you don't feel, but because you finally understand how to feel without falling apart. There is a calm kind of wisdom that lives inside restraint. It isn't loud. It doesn't need to prove itself. It doesn't stomp, shout, or slam doors. It simply knows. It knows that not everything deserves your reaction. Not every glance, not every word, not every opinion thrown your way needs to be caught, studied, or answered, especially when the price is your peace. Peace is not something the world will hand you with ribbons and praise. You earn it through choice. You protect it through discipline. And the most disciplined thing you'll ever do is not react when the world expects you to. Life will toss bait at you every day. Words meant to trigger, questions designed to provoke, moments arranged to unsettle you. And if you aren't careful, you will spend your whole life flinching at shadows, defending yourself to people who never wanted to understand you, and trading your calm for temporary victories that leave you empty. There's a big difference between hearing something and needing to respond to it. You may hear gossip, lies, criticism, or projections, but just because it enters your ears doesn't mean it needs to leave through your lips. Not everything deserves your voice. Not every comment requires an answer. And not every person has earned the closeness to shake you. You don't need to be open to every energy that wants to touch yours. Some people speak from pain, not from honesty. Some confront not to understand, but to control. And when you react to every jab, you give them the keys to your peace. You hand it over and say, "Here, take it. Take my calm. Take my joy. Take my self-respect because you managed to get under my skin." But why? Why give away so much for so little? What if silence wasn't weakness but strength? What if choosing not to respond was the boldest thing you could do? What if holding your peace didn't mean you lost? What if it meant you won a battle no one else even noticed? They may call you cold. They may say you're distant. But those who confuse peace with passivity don't understand the war it takes to keep it. They don't see the 1,000 inner battles you've already fought just to get to a place where you can pick peace over pettiness, where you can walk away without needing to explain, where you can hear your name twisted and still sleep soundly. That's not numbness. That's mastery. Reaction is simple. Reaction is automatic. But the choice to respond or not respond at all, that's intentional. That's maturity. That's self-control. That's knowing who you are so deeply no one else's version of you can shake it. Not everyone who disagrees with you deserves your explanation. Not everyone who mocks you deserves your reaction. Not everyone who misunderstands you deserves correction. Sometimes the greatest act of self-care is choosing not to let that message ruin your day. Choosing not to let that reckless driver ruin your peace. Choosing not to carry another person's misery as your own just because they tried to hand it to you. Let them feel what they feel. Let them say what they say. You don't have to pick up what they drop. You don't have to react to everything that's beneath your spirit. Guard your peace like the treasure it truly is. People will come and go carrying storms within them. Don't let them set up camp in your soul. Don't let them rearrange the furniture in your mind. Let them pass like weather, like waves, like noise you no longer tune into. You are not required to step into drama just because it's aimed at you. You don't need to raise your voice to prove you're not small. You don't need to answer disrespect with the same tone. You are allowed to choose grace, not because they deserve it, but because you do. You deserve to fall asleep without rehearsing comebacks. You deserve mornings free from the weight of yesterday's arguments. You deserve to live untouched by the chaos others try to deliver to your door. Not everything deserves a reaction, especially not your peace. Because peace isn't a passive state. It's a fiercely guarded place. And when you understand that, truly understand it, you become untouchable. Not because the world stops trying, but because you stop letting it in. The sting of insult is quick. It lands hard, often when you're unguarded. A word, a tone, a look, meant to wound, provoke, or belittle. The human instinct is to strike back, to defend the wound, to reclaim dignity through force. But truth is, most insults don't need a counterattack. They need compassion, not for their sake, for yours. Because what someone says to you often says more about what's hurting inside them than about you. Insults are born from a lack of peace, a lack of worth, a lack of clarity. A soul full of respect doesn't insult. A heart at ease doesn't aim to wound others. When someone lashes out, they aren't showing power, they're showing pain. And when you see that clearly, you stop taking it personally. You see the insult as a confession, a signal from a heart struggling to stay above water. Compassion doesn't excuse disrespect. It just lifts you above the need to mirror it. You start to see that pain often hides behind pride and criticism. And instead of dancing with that pain, you choose to stay still in grace. When someone calls you names, questions your worth, or mocks your choices, pause. Look at them not with anger but with curiosity. What must they be carrying? What kind of life must they be living to throw that darkness at another? Compassion isn't weakness. It isn't blindness. It's strength. It takes courage to hold your ground when attacked. It takes discipline to answer with empathy instead of ego. People insult for many reasons: to hide flaws, to feel power, to gain attention, to protect fragile pride. But rarely, if ever, is it truly about you. Seeing it that way gives you control. You become the one who sets the tone, not the one reacting to it. Let them be angry. Let them try to stir trouble. You don't have to drink the bitterness they offer. Let their words drop like dry leaves. Let them fall without ever touching your spirit. That's what compassion gives you. Not immunity to pain, but freedom from reaction. It lets you look someone in the eye and say silently, "I see your pain, and I refuse to add to it." You can set boundaries without building walls. You can walk away without rage. You can be firm without cruelty. That's compassion in motion. When you practice compassion in the face of insult, you take away the fire's fuel. You stop feeding their chaos. You deny their drama an audience. And slowly, something inside you changes. You start to detach from the need to be understood, the need to be right, the urge to prove your value. You realize your worth has never lived in anyone's mouth. Compassion teaches you that dignity doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it stays quiet. Sometimes it smiles and steps aside. And yes, you'll be misunderstood. People will say you're weak. They'll say you let them win. But let them talk. You're not here to manage their opinions. You're here to protect your integrity. There's a peace that can't be shaken when you no longer let someone's unkind kindness shape your character. When you can see them not as enemies but as humans, flawed, hurt, reacting from their own chaos. That doesn't mean you tolerate abuse. It doesn't mean you accept toxicity. But it means you meet it with clarity, not combat. It means saying, "I won't fight you because I see you're already fighting yourself." That kind of compassion doesn't make you smaller. It makes you larger than the insult, larger than the moment, larger than the game they're playing. Maybe your calm becomes the mirror they never had. Maybe it won't change them, but it will change you. And that is enough. So when someone throws words meant to hurt, pause. Breathe. Remember, their words reveal them. Your response reveals you. And you choose compassion. Not because it's simple, but because it's healing. There comes a time in life when you grow tired, not from doing too much, but from carrying what was never yours. You grow tired of explaining yourself to people unwilling to listen, of bending for those who only want to break you, of walking through flames just to prove you're still standing. And in that quiet exhaustion, something sacred begins to rise, the desire to detach, not out of bitterness but from clarity, from strength, from peace. Peaceful detachment isn't giving up, it's letting go. It's that moment you stop gripping the rope that's been cutting your hand. It's the calm that arrives when you no longer need to control the story, win the debate, or fix the person. Detachment isn't cold or careless. It's one of the warmest acts of self-love. It says, I no longer need to lose myself to keep someone else. When you detach, you're not abandoning people. You're releasing the need to be tangled in their storms. You're stepping off the battlefield not because you've lost, but because the fight was never yours. You reclaim your time, your energy, your emotional oxygen, because not every fire deserves your fuel. Not every moment needs your presence. We're taught to think caring means clinging, that love means holding on no matter the cost. But real strength is knowing when to release, when to unhook your heart from what drains it, when to bless someone on their way and not follow them into chaos. That's detachment. Not apathy, but wisdom. Not distance, but dignity. When you reach peaceful detachment, you move differently. You no longer chase closure. You create it. You stop replaying comebacks in your mind. You stop checking to see if they've changed. You stop letting their chaos rewrite your calm. Instead, you stand in stillness. You walk in your rhythm. You protect your soul because it's sacred. Peaceful detachment doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you feel deeply. But don't let those feelings run your actions. You can witness the storm without absorbing it. You can sit across from drama and not drink from its cup. You can hear the insult and let it pass like a breeze through an open window. You can know your worth so completely no outside voice can price it. And yes, detachment will confuse people. Those who once controlled you through guilt or noise won't know what to do now. They'll call you distant. They'll say you've changed, and they'll be right. You have changed. You've stopped pouring your peace into other people's chaos. You've stopped bleeding for those who never brought a bandage. You've chosen serenity over survival. Peaceful detachment returns your power, not the kind that dominates, but the kind that frees. You stop needing to prove anything. You stop needing to be chosen. You stop needing closure wrapped in perfection, because you realize not every ending is yours to fix. Not every wound is yours to heal. Sometimes peace means silence. Not because you don't care, but because now you truly do. About yourself, it means walking away with a smile instead of staying in resentment. It means letting the phone ring, letting messages wait, letting tension fade into nothing. Because your joy is no longer negotiable. You detach not because you're hard, but because you've grown gentle with yourself. You've learned that being available to every storm leaves you drenched. You've learned that people will drag you into their fire and ask why you're burning. You've learned that protecting your peace is the purest form of maturity. There will always be noise. There will always be people trying to pull you back into chaos. But once you've tasted real peace, once you've felt the freedom of not needing to prove, fix, or please, you'll never trade it again. You'll smile more, speak less, sit quietly in rooms that once made you tense, watch old battles unfold around you, and feel nothing but gratitude that you're not part of them anymore. That's what detachment gives you. Not escape, but arrival. Not isolation, but alignment. To detach is to say, I see it, I honor it, but I no longer make it mine. And in that release, you rise steady, still unshaken. That is the highest form of power. Not defense, not dominance, but peace. Let them rage, let them point. Let them misunderstand. Let them twist your calm and frown at your silence. That's their burden. That's their noise. You've outgrown the need to be disturbed. There's a stillness inside you deeper than anger. A quiet river of calm, ancient and wise, that doesn't rise for every stone. Learn to live there, speak from there, love from there. Because in that stillness, no one owns you. In that stillness, you are free.